Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Quran Precision. In this video, we're going to talk about the ha, and the ha doesn't exist in a lot of languages. And so if it doesn't exist in your native language, it might be a little bit difficult for you to pronounce on your own. So let's take a look at it. When I think of the ha sound, a few words come to mind. One of those is constricted. So when I think of the sound ha, it feels like the flow of air is constricted. Ha. It also sounds throaty. It's definitely coming from the throat. It also sounds like a whisper. Ha. Ha. And for some reason, I always think of the word spicy when I think of the ha. So whatever words kind of come to mind when you hear the ha or when you think of the ha, have those in mind. All right, let's start with the articulation point of the ha. So the ha comes from the middle of the throat. There's this thing in your throat called the epiglottis. It's kind of like this little flap, and it flips down, leaving a small space for air to come through. So here you have your lips, your tongue, and then right here is your epiglottis. It's in the throat. This epiglottis has the ability to go down all the way and block off your airway completely. Okay? When we're saying the ha though, it's going to go down and it's going to leave a little narrow passage for air to kind of come through and out. And that's why we hear that kind of constricted sound. Ha, ha. An interesting thing about the epiglottis is that its primary function is to protect us during swallowing. So when you swallow, the epiglottis is going to go down and completely block the airway so that the food is directed down the esophagus and into the stomach. Because you don't want food and drink and whatever to go down into your airway and down to your lungs. That can be bad. So this epiglottis, its main purpose is to block this airway. But for us in Arabic, we have letters like ha that are produced using the epiglottis. So in this picture here, you have, again, the lips, the tongue, all of those same structures, and then you have the epiglottis. And during the swallow, the epiglottis is going to go down, completely blocking the airway, as you can see here, and the food goes down the esophagus. During the ha production, that same epiglottis is not going to go down all the way, but it is going to go down. It's going to leave a really narrow opening for the ha to come through. All right, so now that we talked about where the ha comes from, let's talk about some characteristics of the ha. So the ha is a voiceless sound, so it should sound like a whisper. Ha, ha. Another characteristic of the ha is that it has this constricted but fluid flow of air that comes through. The other characteristics of the ha is that the back of the tongue and the middle of the tongue are both lowered, which produces a light sound. So we say ha, we never say ha. We say ha, we never say ha. Okay? At least not when we're reciting Quran. Let's talk about some common mistakes that are made while people produce the ha. So the first one is replacing the ha sound with a ha. Okay, so a straight up different letter. Ha replaced with ha. And that happens because a lot of times the closest thing to a ha sound in our languages, like English, is an H sound, which is closest to a ha sound. Another mistake, and this is usually with people who might not be native speakers of Arabic, but they're people who have worked on the ha sound. They can tell that it's constricted, but when they produce it, it comes from deeper in the throat, lower in the throat, at the same place where the ha is produced. So someone might kind of constrict that ha sound to try to make it sound closer to a ha, but really it's coming from the wrong place. So it might sound something more like ha, ha, instead of ha, ha. It's closer, but not quite there. So as a first step to distinguishing between a ha sound and a ha sound or an English H, I have some words that have an H in them, English words, and I'm going to say these words, hello, home, holiday, hungry, and Helen, but I'm going to replace that H sound with a ha sound. And you should feel that it sounds off, right? Because we don't have a ha in Arabic. So if I replace the H with the ha, it should sound very different. So listen closely. Hello, home, holiday, hungry, Helen. It should have sounded off to you. Let's keep going because these are fun. Downhill, inhale, forehead, behave. It should sound off. It should sound different. All right, so we talked about where the ha comes from, what the characteristics of the ha are. We talked about how it should sound. Now let's talk about how to actually make that sound. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few different things that you can try. Some might work for you, some might not. Try all of them. Okay, the first one is I want you to channel your inner child. Okay, and think about when you used to see a window. For me, it was always car windows. And you would get your breath onto the window and then you draw in it. You draw a heart or you draw your name, something. You go like this. You get your breath on the window and then you write. If you try that breath thing and it comes out like that's it. That's your ha. Another way to try to get that ha sound is to sigh aggressively. So think about if someone annoys you or makes you mad or makes you frustrated, you might say, right? Or if you lose or something, I don't know about you, but I do that sometimes. It's not the most polite thing, but it's a ha sound. This last one, I'm going to call it chug and relax. So think about when you drink when you're really thirsty and you just chug, chug, chug your water. And then you put the water down and you just go, that sound. It's maybe not the best manners, but it's a ha sound. Let's try saying some words that have a ha in them. Remember, this ha sound should feel constricted. It should be in the middle of your throat. Ha. Hakim. Hakim. Hatta. Hatta. Husna. Husna. Hisab. Hisab. Rahim. Rahim. Nahnu. Nahnu. So we talked about how the ha should sound like a constricted but steady flow of air. You should really hear that when a ha has sukun. So nahnu. Nahnu. Versus nahnu. 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 You don't want to eat it up. You want to really show that sound with all of its characteristics. Nahnu. Ihsan. Ihsan. Nuh. Nuh. If the ha is a sound that's hard for you to make and you want to work on producing it correctly, make sure that number one, you first understand the ha. So you understand where it comes from, what its characteristics should be like. Then you want to start to train your ear. Okay, so you need to be able to hear the difference between a ha and a ha, or a ha and any other sound. Then number three is when you start to work on the production of that ha sound. And that's it for our discussion of the ha. Thank you. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you're looking for more learning and practice, go to speechprecision.com to schedule your free pronunciation assessment. I'll be able to tell you exactly what you need to improve your Quran recitation and pronunciation.